بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Good evening or good afternoon, everybody. Today we are going to go through chapter 11 of interpersonal behavior at work. That will be talking about mainly conflict, cooperation, trust, and deviance. And in this chapter, we will be going through so many aspects, definitions, and situations where you deal with cooperation with workers, trust them, and if there are some deviances. So I would like to start actually my lecture with just brief introduction or little introduction. I think that's important. I remember one day at Dunkin' Donut, I was going to take some coffee while I was studying at Colorado State University, and there was a sign at Dunkin' Donut says, "Life is too short to drink lousy coffee." Yani, if you would like to drink good coffee. Because what? Because life is too short to drink lousy coffee. Same thing, if you would like to do anything in life, life is too short. Life doesn't deserve to be spent with conflict, okay? Because life is too short. If you would like to, life deserves to have a good relationship with everybody. Today we will be discussing some of these things. طبعا, having a perfect society has been addressed by Plato in his Utopia when he said that, we should have a perfect society. And that has been always thinking of those philosophers of where and when and how can we reach into that utopia. Ibn Khaldun also addressed that. Sometimes conflicts happen with some reason that you don't know why. And you don't know that it happened because of you. I remember I was giving a short course. I think it was in Yamba, or I don't remember, one of those Royal Commission companies, or one of those communication companies, and two people, about 12 people, and one at the beginning and one at the end has been sitting, and I think by the second or third day I knew that those guys, they don't talk to each other for the past 5-6 years. And the course was for communication, and I was very much eager to know what was the reason. And I went over there, I speak to that first one. I told him, why don't you speak to this person? He said, he said something about me back in the past, and after that I don't want to talk to him, I don't want to see him. And this is, even though it is related to communication, but still communication chapter, but still related to this conflict. And I asked this guy, he said, I don't know why he's not talking to me, taking that stance, but they find out that somebody in the organization have told this other guy that this person, he talked this and that about you. And this guy, he didn't even talk. At the end of the course, I was able to get them together and speak, and for something actually didn't happen, but there are a third party who are interested to come in between people and to make this, and we are going to discuss some of those as well. Okay, now it's important for you as a manager, okay, to know how to deal with these type of conflicts. And in spite of the fact that you will not be able to put them off or live without them, it's a human nature that people just get, but it's important to know what's the science behind it and how do we deal with that. Now, usually the person who come to claim with the story, usually we listen to him and we build our pre-assumption on that. Therefore, it's very important for you and as a manager to listen to both parties before you make your own final decision or before you make your own judgment. I remember when I was working at KFUPM for an assignment for about half a year as a director for financial director university, and it was like 300 person purchasing and bookstore, and they have so many and I remember there are so accounting and so many, it's about 3 or 4 or 5 departments, I don't remember them, but I act for them for about 6 months. And once you are in a position, everybody comes with certain conflict, or they come with certain problem. And they usually, when anybody comes trying to talk about somebody else and who to complain, I told them, wait a minute, just give me 1 minute. I call this as another person. I ask him to come and I have both of them sit together. I tell him, now you tell me what's your story, so that he cannot exaggerate and he give exact, and I give him the whole time to give his case, then I listen to this other guy. Now the fact that I use these techniques, I used the same technique when I became also director for Arab Open University. Same problems, people always conflict, they come and I use these techniques. With this technique I was able to cut 50% of the conflicts and complaints, because people they said they will have more situation to exaggerate if they are alone with you. But if you bring the other party and have them sit together in front of you and be like a judge, tell me what you. This I use that techniques, and it works for me very well. And I have the same thing, by the way, right now while I was working as a consultant for some also group of companies, bigger group, especially with the partners. Whenever they start the business, they started very nicely, without any problem, everybody's eager, but once the money starts coming, they start saying, I should have done that, I own more, I had more work. It's very interesting how behavior change as we go along, okay? And how do we deal with the situation? So much for the introduction, okay? Now, the workplace, interpersonal behavior, we have in the workplace like extremes, okay? We have cooperation, conflict, and we have pro-social behavior, and we have competition, and we have deviant organizational behavior. This is all in workplace behavior. Now, people are of two types, working with others or working against each other. And you don't want to reach to that point. Working with other, and this is what we call or label as organizational citizenship behavior. And this is what we want. Okay? And working against other, the extreme is when employees start, they call it employee theft. They start to taking out of your resources without you knowing it. For interpersonal behavior is behaviors involving ways in which people work with or against each other. And these are the 5 dimensions: cooperation, conflict, pro-social behavior, competition, and deviant organizational behavior. Personal behavior, we just talked about interpersonal behavior, that where people work and they involve behaviors involving ways in which people work with or against each other, as we just discussed in this. Personal behavior is when people help others on the job even when they will not benefit from assisting. Some people are so nice, طيبين, حبيبين, واجد. These are their personal behavior, okay? That they try to help you and they don't expect anything in return for you. That's their nature. They are very nice and they are helpful, okay? This is, we call it personal behavior, okay? Now, psychological conflict, okay? Also the psychological contract and the trust building of working relationship. We have what we call psychological contract, okay, and the trust. And these are usually three main dimensions. What do we mean three main dimensions? We call it transitional contract and rational contract, and in between we have balanced contract. Okay. What do we mean by psychological contract? It is our expectation of others. How much do we expect from others? Now, what expected of others in a relationship? Because psychological converts are not written, or because because psychological contracts are not written and formal in nature, they open to interpretation. If two parties, for instance, are in such a contract, they have contrasting perception. Each one has different perception, okay, of their mutual obligation. The results may be interpersonal friction between them, or even worse. This type of behavior, as we said, now there are three types of psychological contracts, or three dimensions, but we call it the transactional contract, okay, this is when parties have a brief and narrow defined relationship that is primarily economic in focus. What do you mean? Transactional contract. And I have, my relationship with you is what? Transactional. For instance, if a student works on a part-time, he works on this basis, transactional contract. He works certain hours, he got his pay, and he goes, thank you very much, or he works for summer job. Very limited, very short, he doesn't have any relationship, and then he just go into the summer. Or if you work as a part-time at the library or at McDonald's, usually this type of relationship, we call it what? That is purely what? Economics. If you come attend, give you money. If you don't attend, I don't give you. And this is called transactional contract. Okay? We have the second type, which is rational contract, and this is where parties have a long-term, widely defined relationship with a vast focus. Example, this is more deep. They know you very well, you know them very well, such as you are working for a boss for 20 years and for the same company for 20 years. Over that time, we develop what we call what? This is rational contract. The relationship is much deeper. We find such example also if you have a loyal housemate at your house, or driver spent with you 20 years, 30 years, يعني the relationship go beyond salaries. And I know a person, he doesn't do anything before he takes the opinion from his driver, because he developed such a good relationship that his driver does everything for him. So it's very interesting now of doing that. Okay, we have what we call balance contract. This is in between. Okay, which is defined as this is when we combine the open-ended long-term feature of relationship and psychological contract with a well-specified reward performer. This is in between. Example, if you are a fresh graduate from university and you would like to have your own business, okay, then you would like to be in a type of business that's related to Aramco or oil and gas. You are mechanical engineer or electric engineer, okay? What you do, you go and work for that company, Aramco or Skiko or whatever, for several years, 6-7 years, then you develop your skills and ability, then you get out and you do what? You do your own business, and even that business you supply to Aramco, you supply to Skiko materials. Therefore, this is what we call balanced contract. And as you can see in this diagram, we have that these three dimensions, transactional contract and balanced contract and rational contracts, okay? Now, in terms of prime focus, the transitional contracts concern about economic factors, while the rational contract concern about what? People, your relationship with your employer, with the company organization. In regard to time frame, the transactional contract, okay, closed-ended and short-term, while for the rational contract, open-ended and indefinite. Now, in terms of stability of relationship, okay, we have what we call here is a static, rarely, think again, this is a part-time student or summer student who's doing job and going. All what he care about what? It is economic. So in terms of stability and relationship, static, rarely change. خلاص, I know, or part-time job, this is my job and this is all what I have with them, okay? While relationship here is dynamic, frequently changing. Now, in terms of scope of relationship, narrow, here is broad and pervasive. And in terms of tangibility of term, here is well defined, and here is what? Highly subjective. Now the balanced contract, it's somewhere in between, and you can, for instance, for the primary focus will be somewhere here, for the time frame will be here, and for the relationship would be in the middle, and so on and so forth, until you, and this is again the balance, if you are going to do a job, you work with a company and same nature, and then you provide the same thing with that, you do your own business and you provide that company with the same job, okay? Now, trust, very important, okay? The trust in working relationship. Without the trust, you cannot go in life. You cannot even do good business if you're always suspicious of people. People will rob me, people will, like that, and people, you will not be able, you will not be a successful businessman. There should be a trust, and there should be a risk that associated with that. But there is a minimum of a trust that you have to have in order to work with people, work with others, and to develop your own business. So trust is very important, okay? Trust, it's a person degree of confidence in the words and action of others. There are some people you trust, friends, your boss, okay? Some relatives, okay? And there is, usually the experience might result into something that might make you lose trust from certain people, or you don't trust certain people, but it depends on the situation, and don't make it as a general rule of thumb, okay? Now, there are two types of trust, okay? First type, they call it calculus or calculated based trust, and identification-based trust. The calculated or calculus-based trust person behaves as a promise because he or she fears getting punished of doing otherwise. They fear, calculated, out of risk. For instance, the government asks you to fill tax forms. Okay? If you don't fill them, you fill them usually, it's out of calculated or calculus-based trust. Or they ask you about social security information, same thing, okay? And this is what, out of fear. Now people, they've been asked not to go out of their houses after 7 p.m. They do it, again, calculated or calculus-based trust, okay? Because if they get you there, you'll be punished by either fine or the police will take you. Therefore, this is out of what? This is called calculus or calculated-based trust. Identification-based trust, person behave as a promise because he or she has made best interest at heart. This is the person who doing it out of his what? Out of his own heart. Identification-based trust, trust based on accepting the wants and desire of another person. You accept people, you trust them, and you accept them as they are. Example, you trust your boss, you trust your friend, and these are the two examples. We have something that's not here, they call the SWIFT. They called it the SWIFT trust. Now, this is the transactional. This is the focus transactional, okay? And this is relationship trust, okay? And this is long term, and this is short term. Accordingly, we have this 4 type of trust. This is short. Okay, this is transaction, relationship, and accordingly we have this is the calculated base calculated base trust, okay, and this is identification base trust, and this is what we mean by SWIFT. Okay, this is what we mean by SWIFT. Short term, long term, the focus. This is transactional, and this is the relationship. SWIFT is a set, SWIFT trust, a set of collective perception among members of a temporary group. What do you mean by that? Temporary group. They sit for a temporary time and then they finish. And the good example is what? Virtual group. Virtual group, you don't see them. You meet with them virtually and you have business and you have meeting, but you don't see them. Especially with multinational companies that, people, groups are all over the world, And this is usually, we call it SWIFT trust. And you trust people based on what? Your limited experience with them. By the way they perform, okay? meet them face to face. Okay. Now, developing and promoting trust. Okay. Developing and promoting staff. Developing some tends to be more trusting. This is our way, for some reason, because of their background, because of our experience with them, we tend to trust some people more than others. This is, we call it, some tends to be more, and some people tend to be more trusty. They're always straightforward, honest, you can, and some develop trustworthiness reputation. They have reputation that they can trust them. This is, now in promoting, always meet deadlines. Some people always meet deadlines. You can trust them, okay? Follow through as a promise. He always fulfill his promise. Spend time sharing personal values and goals. And this is by what? Promoting the concept of a trust. Oops. Okay. Now, we have what we call organizational citizenship, okay? And the concept of this, as much as we have good citizenship within each country, within each, societies, we would like to develop that concept for what? For the organization. We should always stress and have what we call organizational citizenship behavior. And this OCB, okay, stands for, okay, this is OCB, organizational citizenship behavior, okay, is informal behavior where people go beyond the call of duty to contribute the most to the organization. And there are some people like this, they always do more than expected from them. And you feel out of their heart they work and they try to help as much as they can. OCB, there are two types. One, individual, they call it OCBI, which help individuals, and there is OCBO, which help organization. Okay, now they all go beyond their call of duty. Organizational citizenship behavior, we have several form of organizational citizenship. We have altruism, okay, helping a co-worker with a project, switching vacation days with another at his or her request, volunteering. فthis guy اللي هو Arabic إيثار, he's so nice. Altruism, this type of organizational citizenship that always would like to have an organization. We have a consciousness, OCB, which is never miss a day for work. He is always like that, okay? He has his own conscience, okay? Then he coming to work clearly if needed, coming to work early if needed, okay? If there's a project or something or duty calls, you'll find him always there, okay? Then we have this guy, again, not spending time on a personal call. He doesn't use company resources for his personal use. The consciousness. We have what we call civic virtue, okay? Civic virtue, attending voluntary meeting and functions, okay? And reducing or reading memos, keeping up with the new information. The civic virtue. Okay? We have sportsmanship who make making do without complaints. يعني he has a sportsmanship. He accept, just like accept the victory, he accept also a defeat. We called him a sportsmanship. Okay, making do without complaint, not finding fault with organization, because he has this sportsmanship traits. We have the courtesy. This is he trying always to avoid problem and not blowing up when provoked. إنسان هادي طيب, he doesn't always try to get angry. This is organizational citizenship behavior. Okay? Now, why does OCB occur, organizational citizenship behavior? يقول لك the research suggests that more people feels treated fairly the more they like their organization and management. If you treat your people fairly, they like the organization, and you will develop this type of citizenship, اللي هو OCB, organizational citizenship behavior. Does OCB really matters? Of course it matters. Being a good ECB affects recruiting, because if you are good OCB, when you recruit the good guys. Okay? But it does affect the age, and the good guys will bring good for the company. Okay? We have something called CTB. Okay? CTB. And CTB stands for core task behavior. Core task behavior. And this is formal behavior that are recognized as a part of the job of the management might consider OCB in part of their employment evaluation. In other words, if you would like to have this behavior, organizational citizenship behavior, you have to make it in the core evaluation of the employees. If you put part of the evaluation that you have about this, how good you are, then you will develop this type of citizenship behavior. How much should OCB contribute toward performance evaluation? Again, recent research suggests that people believe it should be there. Lots of research, or the research support that. Okay. And the research or questionnaire have been sent to men and women. Men believe that it should be up to 30% of the performance evaluation should be on this OCB. Women, on the other hand, think it's up to 50% should be of performance evaluation should be there. Now, the cooperation provide mutual assistance. When we talk about the cooperation versus the competition, okay? The cooperation providing mutual assistance. Now, when we talk about cooperation, this is when two or more individuals, groups, or organizations work together toward shared goals for mutual benefit. We work together for mutual benefit. Person A, person B. Okay? Mutual benefit. They would like A and B attaining a goal attained by both of them. Now, if it is competition, on the other hand, each one, when he works, he would like to take the maximum credit. And because of the competition, he would like to say, it is mine, I am the hero, I am the one who did it. فالcompetition, when each person, group or organization seek to maximize his own benefit on the what? Expense of others. فthis طبعا it makes what? This makes a what we say social dilemma. And social dilemma situation in which cooperation could occur, but often it doesn't because of this concept where who takes the credit, the credit should goes to whom, and some people doesn't even recognize other. Now, social dilemma, what is social dilemma? Social dilemma is a situation in which each person can increase his gain by acting in a selfish manner. This is the dilemma. People sometimes, they don't care about the organization or the department. All what they care about themselves. And this is, we call them what? Selfish. Okay? And this will make a social dilemma. Okay? Selfish manner. But if others do the same, the outcome of all organization will be reduced. If everybody becomes selfish in the organization, the outcome will go down. If you are a good manager, you can convert that into something called mix motivator. طبعا competition is good. When people compete, it's good so that you can get the maximum out of them. But you have to be careful not to make it a social dilemma, okay? If there are some unwanted behavior, you have to take it. And this is mixed motivator, context in which people have reason both to cooperation and to compete. فالkey is the manager can convert this dilemma into what we call mixed motives. We have individuals' cooperation determinants, okay? We have what we call reciprocity principles. Reciprocity principles means eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and scratch my back, I scratch your back. One hand wash the others. Yeah, this is the idea. The tendency to treat other as they have treated you. This is reciprocity principle. Now, the personal orientation is of three categories: competitors, individualists, cooperators, and equalizer. Okay? These are the question, do we know or do you know as a manager what type of people you have, what type of their styles? Is he competitor? Is he individualist? Is he cooperator? Or is he equalizer? What do we mean by that? Competitors primarily motive is doing better. Primarily motive is doing better than others. He's motivated personally and he is always trying to be competitive. Individualists maximize their own gain and do not care about others. ما يهمنا نفسه. Competitor, individualist, same, okay? Or that he cares about himself. Cooperative concerns with maximizing joint outcomes. Cooperative, joint outcomes. And then we have an equalizer اوكي اللي هو people interested in minimizing the differences between themselves and others. Well, what he's trying to make everybody agree or equal. Again, a research found that speed is increased by competitive reward system, organization reward. The research found that speed doing work is increased by competitive reward system. Okay, I'm gonna stop here and continue in the next session. I finished my first 40 minutes and I will go into the second session after the break. Thank you very much and we'll see you soon.